Hello all. Today I have a guest from Albany, right?
Yes, from
Yes,
Albania.
Albany. He is Admir Osmani. Admir Osmani is an MA student. He studies international relations in the University of New York in Tehran, and also he speaks numerous languages like Arabic, German, French, and Russian. And he also has a YouTube channel. I'm gonna put the link of Admir's YouTube channel at the end of this video after recording this video. So thank you, Admir. But I think you have a connection problem. Admir? I think Admir has a connection problem, but he will come back as soon, I guess. Are you there, Admir? We're going to talk about India today with Admir, and I have prepared 2 questions to him. Maybe you can leave and come again to this Zoom meeting, because I think you are frozen at the moment. Admir. I think he will come in a while. He got lost. I think he has a weak connection. So you know that from time to time I post some videos on my YouTube channel. Sometimes I host some people from other countries. And today I invited Admir from Albany to talk a little bit about India. Hi, you are again here. I can see you. And I introduced you, and you are unmuted, I think. Muted, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
Now it's better. We can see you and we can hear you. I introduced you. You speak lots of languages. I talked about it: Arabic, German, French, and Russian. And you are an MA student in IR in Tehran. So, Admir, my first question is about the Indian culture, population. I mean, what do you think about India? So how important is India in today's world? Also, maybe we can also connect this with the other question, the geopolitical role of India in today's world politics. So could you give us a summary about India, about politics, culture, anything you want to say?
Okay. First of all, thank you for inviting me to your interviews. It's my pleasure to be here with you. Now, India is a very, very famous country. It's a giant country. And of course, it has a rich culture and a rich history. First of all, India is a big country, and we in Europe, we don't have so much information about countries in Asia, especially like India or like Iran or like China. Most of our attention is to, for example, to Europe, because this is the problem with Eurocentrism. Now, India is a big country and has a big population, but of course, its past has been turbulent, and its past has been a very long past, and it has been for many periods of times under the occupation of different enemies, of different powers. Let me remind you, for example, the very first occupation of India by Alexander the Great. So you know the Alexander the Great of Macedon Empire. He conquered India, not India, all of India, but a part of India, and the western part of India.
Is he British?
No, I mean, he's Macedon. He's Alexander the Great, the Macedonian Empire.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And he conquered a part of India, and of course he defined India as the edge of the world, because it was very far from Greece, of that time. What does it mean for us today? It means for us that India is a very important country. It's a very geostrategic country in the world, and in the world of politics, it has a very big role. Now, from the ancient times to the modern times, we see India in many different aspects. We see India in different types of India. Like sometimes India was divided into many principalities, into many kingdoms and empires. And of course, for a good part of history, India was divided because they have different cultures inside. They have different ethnicities, and that was a problem before in the past for India, because many occupiers, many conquerors, when they conquered India, they just played this card. They just conquered India and they divided India. It is like, for example, we take here a British Empire. So the British, when the British came to India, they made agreements with the local princes, with the local principalities, to turn toward each other, to turn against each other. So they made agreements with them, and in favor of British, of course, in favor of British Empire. And after the First World War, India was a part of the British Empire, and they took part in the war. And in the Second War also, they took part. Now, after the Second World War, we see that the decline of British Empire, and of course, the British Empire was getting out of their colonies, especially like in South Asia, like in Eastern Asia, like in Africa, or in other parts of the world. For India, it meant that it was a new start, and of course, they got their independence after the Cold War, after the Second World War. They got their independence, and from that period of time, India has been a state of varieties, a state that had so many problems because of the borderline detriment defined by the British Empire. So the first problem was between India and Pakistan.
The Kashmir dispute, do you say?
Yeah, the Kashmir issue. The Kashmir issue is an issue that is, of course, hot even today. It is a hot potato even today in India's politics, and of course in world politics. It's a very big issue because both parties, they claim Kashmir as theirs. India says that Kashmir belongs to us, belongs to India, while Pakistan says that Kashmir belongs to us because the population is a Muslim population. The majority of population is a Muslim. So 90% of the population is a Muslim population. But India says that that territory was given to Pakistan, unfairly from the British Empire. And we know very well that the war for independence from the British Empire between Pakistan and Bangladesh. So we know that after the Second World War, we have three independent states. We have India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Now, for India, that today, India is the second most populous country in the world. It's the second most populous country in the world after China. And of course, if you have a big population, if you have a large population, of course, you will have you will have several problems, and economic problems, social problems, and of course, cultural and religious problems. And as you know nowadays, in India, we have a problem with sectarism, with sectarian groups like extremist Hindu groups. So they want, like, for example, the national agenda of Modi, that is in rule nowadays. He
Prime
is more
Minister.
like yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Narendra Modi has a more nationalist program, more nationalist program policies, and that program is a little bit against Muslim population that is in India. And of course, this is like a new challenge for India. But let me say you some other problems that India is facing today. One of the most heated problem, the biggest problem for India today is, of course, urbanization of India. So when you have a big population and you have a population that is not learned, it has a big population that is unlearned, and the majority of population, they live in small towns or in villages. So there is a problem. The problem is with the urbanization and planification of the cities. So the cities are growing every day, every year. Each year they're growing, but the growth is not controlled. So the cities have nowadays in India, they have different problems that are big problems, like waters, like canals, like I don't know, like public spaces, and the air pollution, environmental pollution. So this is the first problem that India has today. The second problem that India has is, of course, freedom of speech. As we know that India is one of the largest democracy in the world, and in my opinion, it is the most developed democracy in the South Asia, comparing with Pakistan or comparing with Bangladesh or comparing with Nepal. So India is more democratic state, but when it comes to freedom of news, to freedom of media,
yes, media freedom is a problem. Yes, I also wrote an article about that.
Yes, media is a problem in India, freedom of media. So we know that nowadays, after the coronavirus, worldwide, we have the problem with freedom of media, with the freedom of speech, because of many fake news, and many people, they couldn't speak out what they want to say, their thoughts, because of the coronavirus. You know that we weren't sure what to do and what to say, how to say something, because there was a campaign against the fake news, against the news that was spread against coronavirus, against the vaccines, against this one. So this also is another factor.
Yeah, please go on, then I'm gonna ask, please.
So this is another factor. This is another factor that, of course, worsened the situation with the media, because, of course, media before coronavirus, media was violated. Media was under pressure from the government, under pressure from Yes,
I think the Modi government, the prime minister, used the advertising as a punishment tool. So it punishes the critical media actors with financial pressure. I also read something like this.
Yes,
there's a pressure on the financial part of the media.
Yes, correct. Now this means that the Indian government, they're trying to control the media, and they're trying to select what kind of information is going out for the public. So this is against the freedom of speech. This is against freedom of media, and but this came after Narendra Modi. So after Narendra Modi came to power, and his agenda was more a nationalist agenda, was more extremist, like a moderated extremism. So we see that in Europe, in Western Europe, you have the extremist right parties that are really going up. They are represented so much in different parliaments in Europe. So, for example, in Germany you have FDE. You have in France you have Le Pen, that is like challenging now Macron. You have other right parties in Western Europe, in Netherlands. The same is happening in India. So you have like so the same is happening. You hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. There was a problem, I think. Also, we have 10 minutes, so yes.
So you can go to the second question if you want.
No, I think I asked it. You can just summarize based on your own plan. So
okay. So
The geopolitical role of India, yes, is the second part.
Yes, today India is like you know, the world today is not a bipolar world. It's not the world of Cold War. It's a different world, and you have different powers. So you have the rise of China, you have the confirmation of Russia. So the Russia is reconfirmed now. So the Russia is like getting more power, is becoming more serious, like in the international arena. And of course, you have India. So India is another actor, is another important actor that can shape the world politics. They can shape the world politics and the decision making.
May I ask something?
Yes.
Does India hold chemical or other weapons? I think India also has some weapons, right?
Yes. India is one of the few states that owns nuclear weapons. So you know that France, Russia, Israel, United States, China, they have nuclear weapons. Of course, Pakistan has nuclear weapons, and of course, India. So these are the few states that have nuclear weapons. And you know very well that when you have nuclear weapons, you are a frightened force. You are a big state. You are like you have to be taken seriously. So, for example, Israel is a very small state, but they have nuclear weapons, and they have to be taken seriously because it's a danger. It's a dangerous state. It's a dangerous state for everyone. It's a dangerous actor. Of course, India. If you have nuclear weapons, you can shape the whole international security, the world security. Because but the problem with India today is that they don't have a permanent seat in the United Nations. They don't have a permanent seat in the Security Council of the United Nations. They don't have it. And you know, for example, today we have only 5 states that have the right to decide about other countries. So you have the United States, you have France, you have England, you have Russia, and you have of course Russia is like now it's like G7 states.
Now it can be kicked out the council.
Yes, so you have 5 states, and but India with a big this giant India with a big population, they don't have a right. They don't have a seat. They don't have a permanent seat in the Security Council. So this is the problem with India.
Yes. Do you think that in your finally, do you think that India is a threat for world because he holds nuclear weapons? Because you know it doesn't hold any seat in the United Nations Security Council. But do you think that India is still a very important like nuclear power or other like in terms of population? How can you just summarize the role of India in this new millennium?
Yeah, correct. Now we know that India is big and has a lot of people, so it's the second most populous country in the world. And of course, the population is a very important factor when it comes to force, when it comes to power. So when you compare two states, one of the things that is important is, of course, the population, geography, population, military, economy. So there are different factors. So when you compare two states, India, of course, India has a lot of them. India has a big population, it has a geography, it's a big state. India has, of course, has a big economy. So we didn't talk a lot about economy, but India is a very big economy. Nowadays India is like a state that should be taken seriously because India is growing so fast, rapidly, and of course the economic growth and national population growth is very big. So both of them, economy and population, is growing every year. Even it surpasses China. So, for example, the Chinese population is growing, but India's population is growing rapidly, faster than Chinese population. But as you mentioned before, that India, we mentioned together, India has nuclear weapons. But the problem is sometimes, we have to take into consideration two things. When you have nuclear weapons, of course, it is good and it is bad. Why it is good and why it is bad? When you have nuclear weapons, it means that the security is more secure. So it's more, you provide security for all of the world, because when you have nuclear weapons and I have nuclear weapons, we are not going to attack each other, because if we attack each other, then it means the end. It means the end for us. But for example, India can use that as a leverage, to enter to join the United Nations Security Council. So they can do it. But another problem that India is facing today is like geographical challenges with Pakistan that remains, of course, the Kashmir issue. It is China, Indian-Chinese border. So, for example, you know that Himalayas range. So there is a disputed area between China and India. There are so many zones in Himalayas that are disputed between two powers, and of course, many times it produced casualties in men and great losses in economy and of course in human. Another challenge that India is facing today is of course poverty. It's a very widespread phenomenon in India, and of course it has to be tackled by the government. But the government is busy, as we mentioned before. But the government is busy controlling the media, making policies about how to make India nation a modern nation and nationalist country, something like this. I think that you have to ask me something because
no,
okay.
I don't have any questions. We only have some more minutes if you want to wrap your evaluation.
Okay. The last yes. sentences. The last sentences. As I mentioned you before, India has a rich and old and a long history, and of course it was a desired region, a desired land by foreign invaders, by foreign powers. And I started to say it was a land that was desired by Macedonian Empire, by Alexander the Great, of course, and later by the Turkish tribes that came from Central Asia. So we know very well that Ghaznavid's Empire, and they invaded India, northern India, and you have later Mughal Empire. So it's a rich territory in culture, in languages, and of course in history. This is the reason why so many countries want India, not only for its position, but of course for its richness also, because India is rich in agriculture. It has two big rivers, Indus and Gang. Of course, India has so many riches that can help one country, that can help one power to become a great power, to become a superpower, such as a British Empire. So British Empire conquered India, and of course they milked India. They milked India in the sense that they got everything from India, from the natural resources, from the manpower, because Indians, they fought on the side of the British Empire. And I think that this is a whole thing about India's geopolitical challenges in the new millennium, and it will continue. So it will continue with facing these challenges, and maybe the future of India is complicated. Is really complicated because it has so many problems to face. Not only one or two, but so many economic problems, natural geographical problems, social problems, and of course cultural and religious problems that lately became very important. Yes.
Thank you very much. It was very nice talking with you, but as I said, I have a limited time due to my Zoom account. Thank you very much for your time, Admir. It was a great experience. You talked to very important details. You talked about the media, the problem of press freedom in India. You talked about population, and you talked about its nuclear weapons, the disputes, the Kashmir dispute, and other disputes. Do you have articles written about India?
Actually, I have a presentation about India, about geopolitical challenges of India. But of course, India is like a state that has so many things to say. Not only in one day is not enough. So
Yes.
if you want to talk about India, India is a big state and has a big problems. Of course, one day is not enough to speak about the problems that India has and
Yes,
India will face and is facing.
So in last 3 minutes, I want to, you have a YouTube channel. Could you please tell me in the last 2 minutes, and I'm gonna, lastly, I will thank you again. So you can finish the video yourself. What is your YouTube channel? What do you do there? And I'm gonna also put the link of it. Thank you again for this chat.
Well, my channel is titled Reading Political Books with Me. And of course, this was my inspiration for the new students, for the students of political science that wants to read political books. Wait a second. Okay, that wants to read political books, but they want to read political books, but they don't have time to read. But the most important is that they can hear, they can listen to the book while they are traveling, while they are going somewhere. And but for me, it's very important to read books, because they can open us new windows, new worlds for us, of course. And it's very important to read books, not only the books, but very important books, like from prominent writers. And as mentioned in my channel, like writers such as Francis Fukuyama or Joseph Nye or John Mearsheimer or Kenneth Waltz. Of course, these are famous writers. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll say to your public.
Yes, I will put the link to your channel in this video. And thank you very much, Admir. Maybe we can talk. We can make another interview about India, because yes, it's a big country, but the time is limited.
Yes, it's very limited. Oh, thank you so much for your invitation, for your interview, the conversation. It was very nice. It was a pleasure to meet you and to talk with you.
Thank you very much. It was also, yes, a pleasure for me too. So thanks again, and hope to see you in another meeting. Maybe we can organize it. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you so much. Bye bye.